Okay, there's no easy way to say this, so I'm just gonna come out and do it. There are way too many of you here now. Some of you need to leave. Please try not to take this the wrong way. It's not you, it's who you choose to be. I know, I'm really important to you, and now there's this massive owl-shaped hole where your heart used to be. But don't worry, I've got a few boys here who might be able to fill it for you. I made sure to keep it limited to small boys so you don't get too overwhelmed. The kind of small boys who don't get the love they deserve in the first place, because no matter how much I love these handsome hunks, they're not going to get nearly as much out of a video like this as people with smaller channels will. But hey, if you liked my style before everything fell apart, there's a good chance you'll like any number of these, and in the interest of fairness, I haven't put them into any particular order other than alphabetical, sub count, height, and how much I value their existence as human beings. So let's just start with the one I think I'll have the most trouble describing, CreelTube. Creel does comedic, sorta review, sorta sketch, sorta walkthrough videos on games that he calls Creel plays, like the textbook narcissist he is. His stuff is airtight, and his style is really unique from most anything else I've seen on here, and when you watch his videos, it's clear almost immediately that the dude just loves video games. There's something really nice about the mixture of his writing, delivery, and presentation that makes everything he does insanely enjoyable, and he's shown me a sneak preview of the next video he's working on, and based on everything I've seen, I think it's probably going to be his best work yet. Until that's done though, I'd recommend either the Anime Games video or the Tex Murphy series as an introduction to his channel. Give him a look, maybe then he'll be able to reach those new YouTube partnership requirements.
Hola amigos, today we're gonna be looking at Monopoly, like the board game. I knew this day would come.
Moving on from there, we get to another very small boy who happens to also be one of my favorite people on the entire platform, B-Mask. Baymask casts a fairly wide net when it comes to the stuff he covers on his channel, ranging from talking about 3D platformers to examinations of various cartoon shows to an hour-long video that's entirely about Hill Street Blues back to talking about 3D platformers. It's mostly 3D platformers, I'll be honest, but he manages to say new things and keep his critique and analysis fresh, breezy, and interesting in all of them. And I think that's at least partially due to the fact that he's got pretty much the best line delivery of most anyone I've seen on YouTube. It also certainly doesn't hurt that he's genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, and it's absolutely criminal that he's not more well known. I don't even know if I could pin down a specific video I'd recommend to start out with, but if you twisted my arm, I'd say, please stop twisting my arm.
It was incredibly fun, incredibly fast, incredibly thrilling, and I sucked. Not just dying a handful of times, dying again and again and again and again and again.
And again until we're both dead.
I'm aware that I'm not great at video games, call it years of being spoiled by Chimp Snatch and whatever funny joke this can be, ha 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 ha. So naturally I was worried the difficulty might be too much for me to get into. Though it was kinda tough to get a straight answer about that after this blew up and got everyone on the defensive. People either going, hey, it's pretty hard, maybe games need a rethink, or, oi, tough shit, here, fill it.
The next one's Turbo Button, a YouTube channel called Turbo Button. Turbo Button is a friend of mine who makes pseudo-video essays for pseudo-intellectuals, generally with a heavy focus on action games like Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, and other Japanese shit like the deeply closeted weeaboo that he is. He's got a knack for going fairly deep into the mechanics and systems of games and how they play off of one another while maintaining an air of casual conversation, and his use of music and editing in these videos gives them a lot of style without making them visually overwhelming. If I had to describe the aesthetic of his videos, I'd say they absolutely ooze of lad. If I had to do it without cultural appropriation, I'd say he rides the line of taking what he does seriously without taking himself seriously really well. I'd recommend starting with his most recent video about God Hand, where he talks about God Hand.
Getting an enemy into a stunned state makes them more susceptible to these effects. For example, kick moves now launch the enemy across the screen and juggles tend to get extra height. Or you can use the opportunity to bust a monster mash and lay down a graveyard smash. Not only does director Shinji Mikami get you thinking about more than using a move for how much wallop it brings, he's got you thinking about when to use them, what moves to set up other moves, and how they take on different roles depending on how these mooks are feeling. Planning ahead, tactics, it's like chess club only there's girls. You know what else you have to do in chess? Take turns. God Hand's not about that life. If you're feeling cheeky, interrupt their wind up to land a critical hit.
In a similar vein, but also at the same time not at all in a similar vein, are my friend Jake's video game critiques and analyses. Jake started his channel Nova Canoe about 2 years ago with the explicit purpose of exercising his impotent rage and hatred towards the Uncharted games, as evidenced by the fact that he immediately stopped posting videos regularly after he recorded himself crying about it for 2 hours. All jokes aside, for my money he's easily one of the best people on the entire platform at dissecting and discussing the actual mechanics of games and explaining his views in a way where even people who disagree can at least understand where he's coming from. His older stuff tends to be quite dry, but in his newer videos he started to let a bit more of his friend who is perpetually drunkenly hanging off your shoulder personality shine through, mostly by calling Turbo Button a virgin. I'd recommend checking out his series of videos on the Uncharted games if you've got some time on your hands, but if your hands are tragically timeless, I'd say to look at his video on the Crash Bandicoot remake. It's quality stuff, dude.
The general consensus on these games, at least at the time of writing, tends to be that Uncharted 1 is a fairly lackluster game, but Uncharted 2 is one of the best games of its generation. Call me presumptuous, but if I were to take a look at Uncharted 1 on its own and heavily criticize it, I can't help but imagine a fair few comments saying something along the lines of, yeah, fair enough, Uncharted 2 is a hell of a lot better though. The reason I'm covering both these games at once is because, personally, my answer to that statement would be, no it's not, or at my most generous, yeah, but only slightly.
Cloud CCC I made my name way too long to say in conversation Cuckoo Country is the first divergence away from video game related content in this video, because his channel is centered around video reviews and critiques of books. Which is nice, because if YouTube was a school, that'd make him the nerd that even nerds like me get to pick on to feel included. Thanks, Nick. If you enjoy my style of videos and or the less drunk-sounding cultivated Australian accent, that's a real term, I'm only being a little bit country racist right now, then I think there's a good chance you'll really enjoy his stuff. He somewhat recently started a series called Book Burning, where he goes through and tears into especially bad books he finds, and in the most recent one, he forced me to do a dramatic reading of a book with gratuitous owl sex scenes. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, look up Cloud Ku Klux Country on YouTube and contact your local priest, sinner.
Winger doesn't successfully establish a dictatorship and then get overthrown by Hunter. Hunter stops him from ever disbanding the council in the first place, and the council itself isn't actually that relevant to the story beyond being the goal for the antagonist. You could swap the council for the throne, or the magical amulet, or whatever, and it would serve the same purpose. The many complex political ideas that Hawk attaches, like councils, democracy, and dictatorships, as well as earlier stuff like emancipation and whatever, are totally irrelevant, and the inclusion of these big words is made all the more stupid by the fact that Winger's primary motivation is having lots and lots of sex.
So I know that I said this list was going to be pretty much exclusively small boys, and that my boy Mandalore Gaming has already built up a pretty respectable following as is. But nepotism's a bitch, so I decided that the completely arbitrary cutoff point for this video was 100k subs, and he's still just barely beneath that threshold. Eat your heart out, punk duck, you shirtless, ass-eating cunt fuck. Mandy tends to cover older and or more obscure games on his channel, and his videos primarily serve as a means of introducing people to games they might have otherwise missed, giving a few tips on how to get them up and running, looking at what went wrong in the development and creative processes, personally killing PlanetSide 2 and Star Citizen, and shitposting. His style and presentation are very casual without ever being lazy, and if you're a typical internet person and would like an introduction that'll validate some opinions you already have about games, he recently made a series of videos on the Dead Space trilogy, the third of which may feature a special someone you may recognize. A special someone named Shammy. It's me, hi.
You switch between 2 weapons, each with an alt fire, giving you 4 attacks. It's basically choosing between 4 weapons. Previously you could choose between 4 weapons, but each had a unique alt fire, effectively giving you 8 attacks. They just wiped out half your options. If you bring a buddy, I guess that balances it out, but it's not the same. The weapons are still really satisfying with great impact and sound effects. Some of the new ones like melee weapons are a welcome addition. The problem is confused direction. They didn't commit to being an action game, so a lot of elements don't make sense. That thing's pretty spooky. Goodbye.
This is a bit of a tricky transition, because the next person I want to plug is Leonardo da Sidshi, and Sid's content is very different from everyone else's on this list, given that his videos are really personal, serious, and actually good. He tends to cover topics that I haven't seen other people talk about, or at least cover them from different angles or in different ways than those people have previously. I don't really know how to sell his channel to people who are here to listen to an angry talking owl make jokes about video games, but I can say without any hint of hyperbole that I think his video on Hellblade is the single best video I have ever seen on a game in my entire life. I could go on about pretty much everything he has on his channel, but I think I'll just leave it at that. Dude's one of the most caring people I've ever met, and he's an absolute workhorse. You owe it to yourself to check his stuff out.
Even to this day, psychosis is still considered a taboo. With a name so close in origin to the word psychopath, it's easy to see why. The concept of experiencing a reality that isn't in front of others is a hard one to accept. The topic of psychosis is one that surprisingly has been overlooked within the medium of games. In fact, mental health as a whole, when portrayed in film, books, television, and games, has largely been one to demonize or antagonize the person dealing with the issue. Thankfully, in recent years, game developers, especially in the indie space, have been paving the way to open up and discuss these issues from a more empathetic and understanding point of view. If we were to look at it objectively, any level in a game where you've had a phantom version of an enemy appear and disappear as you attack, or having multiple voices telling you things as part of the audio track, could be interpreted in a way to discuss the concept of hallucinations and psychosis. However, Hellblade is the first game, to my knowledge, that directly tackles the topic head-on, and for me, that was a problem.
This next suggestion is another departure from video game videos, because I'd like to introduce everyone to a fun little channel I watch called Salutation Nation. I really like this channel, largely due to the fact that they feel like a little bit of a relic of YouTube past, like a couple of friends just found a camera and went, hey, let's make some dumb shit. It's very 2011, and I mean that in the best way possible. The longest ongoing series on their channel is called Spook Search 2004, and it's a parody of those Ghost Adventures-esque shows. But they do a lot of smaller projects like Contemplative Coffee Corner, which doesn't take place in a corner, and Slam Hour, which doesn't last an hour. I don't know, there's just something so genuinely charming and wholesome about it. One of their videos even has a swear warning at the beginning. I love it, and even though their upload schedule has been a touch me lately, I talked to one of the dudes who runs it and he told me they're going to get back into the swing of making videos now. And you better not make a freaking liar out of me, Austin.
Hi, I'm Austin Flory, and welcome to Slam Hour, the show where poetry is king, and all kings die. Long live the king. For those of you who are new to poetry and can't hear the secret art language that poets whisper in the wind, allow me to fill you in on today's pre-assigned prompt. The subject of poetry for today is this picture of my cat. This picture. And as it happens, I've already got my poem all written up. Here, in my brain. And I'd love to read it aloud for you all if you'd care to hear it.
On the subject of nice and wholesome videos, I have a friend named Adam who makes stuff on his channel Whiskey Worm. I think out of everyone on this list, Adam's videos are definitely the most niche, given that they're cute little quirky animations that are primarily centered around Smite, that MOBA that you probably thought was a Korean mobile game based on the top-notch advertising they do. That being said, even if you have no interest in Smite, I still think Adam's videos are genuinely worth looking at, if only because they're just really nice. I don't know, there's some janky stuff with camera movements and whatnot because he's self-taught and still pretty new to the world of animation, but so much of his sweet personality comes through because of how much he pours his heart into the stuff he makes. Like I said, it's very niche, but I really love it and I wanted to share it all the same.
Similarly, when a game has been concluded, you may be tempted to use the Veil command to demonstrate your superiority. This is a most demeaning habit and should be avoided by those wishing to join the upper echelons of society. In place of this, it is more proper to release a traditional Chinese sky lantern. Often used in times of celebration, this lantern can perform the dual duty of glorifying your victory, but also of mourning your opponent's ELOM. Consider it the passing spirit of their hopes and dreams as you pub stomp them for the 8th time today.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I saved the best for last. Or did I? I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Mechagamezilla's pretty good though. I only discovered his channel recently, but I blazed through his entire back catalog and now I'm waiting with bated breath for mid-September. He He's probably one of the best joke writers I've found on YouTube, and because there's so little reliance on pop culture references in his videos, they age like fine wine. Hell, the E3 video he made 4 years ago bordered on prophetic. If I had to describe Mecha, I'd probably say he's pretty good though. I only discovered his channel recently, but I blazed through his entire back catalog and now I'm weighted with bated breath.
Hang on. England? In Europe? Looks like this game's gonna need to be patched soon. Democracy. Who came up with that great idea? Oh. Wait, foreigners? They kept that one quiet.
I have definitely forgotten people to put on here, but I'm trying not to sink too much time into this video because I really want to get to work on the next review, so maybe I'll do this again sometime if you people don't stop showing up uninvited. Anyways, if you've made it all the way to the end, I may as well plug myself here, so here's a friendly reminder that I've got a Twitter where you can watch me mentally deteriorate in real time. It's also the best way to show me any anime as fuck fan art or anything you've made, which is still far and away the coolest part of this job, so thank you so much to everyone who's ever done that. If you miss the sound of my dumb voice when I'm not posting videos, then you're in luck because I have a bi-weekly podcast I do with my friends called Please Stop Talking. If you really hate my friend Cameron and don't want to listen to that, I also did an interview on my friend Cocodope's podcast, Dope Talk. I talk a lot about my creative process and what goes into making videos in that one, so if you like boring nerd shit like Mandalore gaming, it'll probably be right up your alley. Oh, I'll also be streaming on Twitch when this video goes up, so if you want to know how this sentence ends, I guess you'll have to come find out because man oh man, I can't get enough of that sweet